Welcome, welcome, welcome to the first episode of what's going to be called the HRL 10 project. This is something that I've started 3 or 4 years ago, and I'll explain it, and I'll explain these cards later. But first of all, I'm sure most of you who are beginning to watch this know me, but for those of you who don't, and hopefully that gets more and more of those of you who don't, because I want this thing to expand. And yes, I like to talk with my hands and my facial expressions, but that's just me. My name is Burke Smith. I am 53 years old. I'm a firefighter. Hopefully to retire here pretty soon, but I started this project 3 or 4 years ago, and I'm going to try to release these videos once a week, hopefully on Sundays. Just depends with my work schedule. We've got a crazy schedule if you don't know much about them. Plus we have grandkids. Plus, I have 2 boys, plus just work and life, and that's the way that it is. But my goal is to release them on a Sunday, probably Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. The main thing that I work off of, just is because that's what I've always done, is Facebook. My son is going to help me set up an Instagram and a TikTok, and we'll share little reels and just kind of highlights of this video. But hopefully you enjoy this. I'm going to do it in different locations. Today we're up in my son's studio. We have a barn out behind our house. It's more like a house instead of a barn. But this is, at first it started out in video games when they were younger. Then it got to the point where we actually have a basketball goal downstairs. And then it got to the point where my oldest son started doing some music. So we built a studio. You can kind of see it back there where that white door is, where the vinyl hanging is right there. Used to be another door, so there used to be now it's storage. We used to have music on one side, the soundproof room on the other. But this is where I'm doing it today. Sometimes I may do it from the house, I may do it from our pool deck, I may do it from the car, I may do it from the firehouse. It just depends on where I feel inspired or what's available for time, honestly. And excuse me, I'm gonna get a drink, because this is my third take, because I suck at this. Lots of talking. However, HRL 10. Like I said, I started this about 3 or 4 years ago, really didn't do anything with it. These cards were kind of made up to where I'd lay them like on a table at a restaurant, you know, with the tip, or I'd leave them in a restroom by the sink, or I'd leave them on a counter somewhere. Just, it's kind of a conversational piece where people would pick them up, read them, and see what they were all about. So, look there, the HRL 10. It's my belief that every single person on the face of this planet wants the same 3 things. And that's to be H, which is to be heard. Like, why they do what they do, why they think the way they think, what makes them tick, why are they where they are in this world at this given moment. And then you move on to the R, which is respect. That no matter what you hear, whether you like it, whether you agree with it, whether you don't, whether they have the same views, nothing. It's all just about respecting and hearing their story and why they are where they are. And then L is love. That you ultimately walk away from that conversation in love. And no, it drives me insane. Love does not mean that you have to agree with everything that everyone says. Love just means that you're taking a moment to hear their story and then walking away with an understanding of why they are where they are and what they do, and to not put them down for that. But on the other spectrum of that, just because you disagree with somebody does not mean you hate them. It just means you disagree with them, and you can walk away with different views. Actually, you can still be friends with views. I have all kinds of different friends, from doctors to drug addicts, and I love them all. And I hope they love me all. Love all of me. And then so the 10 on there is to just take 10 minutes out of your day or your week or your month to sit down with somebody that's different than you. That's the hard part. easy. It's always easy talking to somebody and kind of getting just surface level conversations with people that are a lot like you. But this is where the real growth is where you start talking to somebody that you wouldn't normally associate with, as bad as that sounds. But I think that's how we all grow. I think that's how we change this world. Maybe it's different, maybe it's not, but it seems like there's just so much more negativity in these days than what there was 50 years ago. Maybe it's just the invention of social media. I don't know. And I'm going to put this card down. I don't know, but it just seems like there's a lot more negativity out there than what there used to be. And we can't change the world by ourselves, but it is my belief that we can change our little corner of the world, one person at a time. And I truly believe this. I really do believe that if all of us took the time to do that, the world would change. Because then we get to start to love each other for who they are and see them why they are and see them as human beings and people, instead of just polar opposites, or they don't agree with me, or I don't like what they're saying or what they're doing or how they're living. So I'm just trying to better my little corner of the world by doing this. And the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to be real, I'm going to be raw, and I'm going to be honest. And I'm going to share my life with you. I'm going to share all of my struggles with you, all of the things that I've been through, all of the things that I've experienced. And I'll have to do that, on a certain level, just to avoid privacy with some people. I don't want to share somebody's story that doesn't want to be shared. But I'm going to share some things that have happened with me. I'm going to share some good things that I've done and some terrible decisions that I've made that have changed the course of my life. But that's me giving you the insight into my life of hearing and respecting and loving. And hopefully I can do the same for you. And we're going to talk about grief, because I've had loss, as all of you have. We're going to talk about forgiveness. We're going to talk about unforgiveness. We're going to talk about marriage. We're going to talk about children. We're going to talk about everything under the sun. Hopefully, just as things come to me and they inspire me. And I am, by no stretch of the imagination, a professional at this. I have not gone to school. I don't have a college education on it. I've just always been that guy that wonders. I've just been a deep thinker. Small talk, surface level conversation does not do much for me. I like to get into people's brains. I like to get into my own brains. I love to love on different people. That's just the way I've always been. So I'm going to try to do that through this avenue. And we're going to try to just, kind of explore it together, I guess. I'm going to share what's worked for me, what's not worked for me. I've done talk therapy. I've done brain mapping. I've done a thing called the Genesis process. I've done anxiety and depression workbooks. I've listened to podcasts. I've listened to YouTube videos and just everything under the sun to try to better myself and to try to understand why other people do what they do. So this is my little avenue to do that. We're just going to see where this thing goes. I want it to be loose because I'm one of those guys that likes to have things routine. Things have to be predictable. Things have to make sense. Things have to be structured. And I'm trying to break away from that. And so this is going to be just as much of a growth project for me as it is for you. We're going to learn about each other along the way. Right now, it's just going to be me because I'm going to see how this thing goes. If it goes well and it gains traction, I'm going to make more videos and maybe eventually have some guests on here or something. I'm going to try to make every video 10-ish minutes or less. This one's a little bit longer than normal because this is my first one and I'm still figuring out lighting and voice and position and all of that stuff. Then the other ones will have, sometimes they're going to be short. Sometimes they're just going to be little blurps of inspiration. Sometimes they will be a little bit longer if it goes into depth. So thank you. I'll announce what the next week's video is going to be on Facebook And then we'll have links to TikTok and Instagram and all that stuff where you can see just kind of the highlights. Then you can follow those. I'll have YouTube. I'll make my own YouTube channel. But I kind of wanted to leave you with two things before we go. One of them is I'm going to leave you with just kind of an inspiration to do every week. And then I'm always going to leave you with a Bible verse because I do feel like God has changed my life in many ways. So the first is be someone's hope and love today. Take time out of your week, out of your month, out of your day, whatever it is, to hear somebody's story, respect them where they stand, and walk away from that conversation in love. Second thing is the Bible verse, which is on the back of this, comes from Matthew 22:37 through 39. And Jesus said to him, "You shall love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, and with all of your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself." That's getting to know other people, right? And this doesn't mean neighbor as in your next door neighbors. Sure, you can get to know them. Nothing wrong with that. But this is talking about mankind. Getting to know everybody and loving on them like Christ loved on them and like he loved on you. Thank you for viewing this. Look forward to seeing where this goes for all of us. Be someone's hope and love today.